What if I told you this is possible in vanilla Minecraft? Technically, there's a mod I just found out about called Axiom, and if you haven't seen what it can do yet, it's gonna blow your mind and literally revolutionize building in Minecraft, infinitely expanding what is possible in technically vanilla. But before we delve into that side of the Axiom mod, let's first take a look at some of the other insanely powerful tools that it brings. Alright, so to use this mod, we can basically scroll to that last hotbar slot there, and you can see that gives us a move tool, and we're basically just going to select a first point and a second point, and then I can simply just scroll to move this around. I can look up and move it upwards, and then we can just confirm it, and there we go. I've moved a big chunk of dirt out of the ground. I can also press Ctrl Z to just undo that as well, which is just so good, man. Now, another thing we can do is actually hold Alt and change this tool. So we can change it to like the clone tool, and let's just say I wanted to copy this house somewhere else. And now you can see I'm just going to look up and scroll, and we've basically just cloned that entire house like that, and I can easily just paste this exactly where I want to, and then we can just confirm it and finish, and there we go. Our house is now over here. Then we can unlock a whole nother menu by just holding Alt over here. And you can see we have hotbar saves in here as well, so we can easily just kind of move this stuff around. Over here, we've got this little bar that changes our fly speed, so we can kind of, you know, go as fast as we want, like even faster than spectator mode, which is super handy, man. And then over here on the left, we have a bunch of powerful tools. For instance, we have a no clip, allows us to fly through blocks, very helpful. We've got this one that lets us place blocks mid-air like this, which is just, dude, you have no idea how helpful this is. We have fast place, which lets you place blocks like a lot quicker. Pretty sure, yeah, there we go. You got to kind of do it on an existing block. We have infinite reach. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. Bang, we can place blocks as far away as we want. And then we have these things. We have tinker, no updates, and force place. You can see with the tinker, we can just kind of take chunks away from blocks like this and basically turn it into stairs. So we can place those chunks back as well. And this just makes it super easy to make those like kind of stair formations. Like say I wanted a chunk taken out of the middle of all of this, we can just do that. And this also just lets us right click like everything to just basically use it like a debug stick. So we can set buttons to be like always pressed like that. I can easily strip logs. I can change the growth state of crops. And then we have force place as well, which basically just lets you place things where they shouldn't go. Like for instance, we've got this wheat here. Then we also have a replace mode as well. So instead of basically placing blocks, you're going to be replacing the existing blocks like this. And so that's kind of all the builder tools. We unlock a whole nother section of this mod if we press right shift. You can see we go basically into like an editor mode. This looks straight out of like Blender or something like that. And we've got a bunch of different tools up at the left here. So we got like magic select, which lets us select blocks of the same type. We've got the painter tool, which just basically lets you paint other blocks with other blocks. We've got noise painter, which is kind of the same thing, except it's basically like texturing. I can play with these sliders to get this into like more of like a texturing pattern. And then I can just basically paint this over super easily like that. And there we go. We've changed this entire mountain from gravel to stone and andesite instead. Another thing that we can do with this that is super handy is select any kind of build. So there we go. I've selected my whole house, and what we can do is just do Control C and copy that to the clipboard, and then we can just press Control P and save this as a blueprint. We even have this nice little view of this model here, and I don't exactly know how to use these, but now we can just kind of paste this wherever we want and just use it. And I could go around to every single build in my world. I literally have thousands of builds in this world that you can actually download over on my Patreon. You can get access to this entire world. And we even have my build platform up here as well with just a metric ton of builds. Like literally there is so much up here. All of this is available on my Patreon, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, that's literally not even scratching the surface of this editor. Like it is just insane the amount of stuff you can do. All right, and now I think it's finally time to unlock the insane side of this mod. And to do that, all we have to do is hold Alt and click this little button that's been in front of us the whole time, create display entity. We can simply choose between an item, a block, or text. I'm going to choose a block. Let's just go with, I don't know, an oak log and click done. And you can see it spawns this block in my feet. So now we can click this little box inside here and we get this kind of transformation thing. And we can basically just... yeah, we can move this wherever we want, but it gets even crazier. We can rotate this, we can squash it down, we can extend it to any size we want. Like this just unlocks, like you can literally build anything you can think of in Minecraft. You can build by doing anything like this. This is literally like Blender in Minecraft. And so what I want to do with this is basically create an entire detailed medieval interior. And I'm going to enlist the help of my friend Extra to do it because it's going to take a lot of time to build. You can press right shift. as well on your keyboard. Dude, it's like a full like.
But this is not even
editor.
Minecraft anymore.
I know.
This is Blender.
It's crazy. Okay, so for the entity, just hold Alt, and then it's the very top one. It says Create Display Entity.
Bro, what?
Oh my god. Now that Extra is a little bit more familiar with the mod, I want to showcase the potential for these entities, so we're going to create 2 versions of the same interior, one without entities and one with. We'll be following this reference that I professionally modified, so let's see what we can get done without any entities. So I first started off with a furnace design in this corner of the room, opting for cobblestone and utilizing a campfire as the wood storage. I then moved on to this area with a painting, bookshelf, and random crates and stuff on the floor. So yeah, like right now I'm trying to do this like basket of random crap in the corner, and some tricks you can do is like with the debug stick, you can set block state, so I can basically get this to not attach to anything. This is like just some of the tricks that you'd have to do to like, you know, make something work, I guess. It's like a basket. I can't really get a basket in here, but at least it emulates that kind of like stuff sticking out, you know? It just looks like an appliance or something, I guess. Now, while I was building that, XT was working on the kitchen, and there's a few cool little details we used here, so let's take a closer look at some of them. Then over here, for like something like a sink faucet, like a tripwire hook worked perfectly for that, but you can also use the debug stick to set it to like a different state, like the attached state or powered. There you go. You can do powered like that so that it looks like it's actually pointing down into the sink. We've used the cauldron for the sink as well. We've got buttons to kind of emulate those drawers and stuff. Now over in the left corner of the picture, we have this like big pot plant, and to achieve that, we could do something like this, but it's a bit too small. So what I do instead is just put a decorated pot, and then we can put a flower pot that'll actually clip inside the top of this, and then we can put an azalea in it to get a nice big kind of plant like that. And that is pretty much exactly how you're going to match that reference picture there. So with the kitchen all done, we moved on to this area of the room that had a couple tables with various decorations, and at this point we started using armor stands to get those fine details in. So let's take a quick look at how we did those. So if we get snow layers, put an armor stand, and then use world edit to select these 2 points. We want wood. There we go. And then we can delete that. So it's a little bit too high, but that's fine. Yeah, there we go. That's how you'd get that in vanilla. And for this next table, I used another armor stand, this time for the actual leg of the table. I placed it in the ground and used weld edit to fill the block back in. We then finished up with a wood trim along the top of the walls using some signs, and then spent like 20 minutes making some banners. And all up, this interior took just over 24 minutes. Keep this in mind for when we start with entities. Alright, so yeah, that's about the extent of how we can do it in vanilla. So now let's go over to the other side and do it with entities and how freaking detailed we can get it. Alright, so yeah, for instance, with this furnace, I'm just gonna spawn in a freaking polished tough block. And then, because with our old furnace, we were kind of restricted with, you know, Minecraft and their limits and shit. Now we can just put this, we can put it off center, we can put it wherever the hell we want. We can also just squish it down. I'm just gonna squish it so it's like basically a vertical slab. It screws with the resolution a bit. You can see it's like a bit stretched on here. It's kind of squished. I'm then just going to duplicate this and put it on this other side. And then I might actually just place some normal slabs here. We have like this clipping issue, which is, yeah, it's kind of annoying to work around. But to fix that, I can just barely offset this into the block. So yeah, to get this like archway thing here, you can see I've got this block that I've basically just completely like stretched and distorted and whack as hell. Now to get this on the other side, I'm just gonna duplicate it, move it over, and then I'm just gonna rotate it 180 like that. And now we've got the exact same thing on the other side there. We've got this nice kind of like arched little area to store wood. And then to get those pieces of wood, I'm literally just gonna use an oak log. I'm just gonna rotate it 90, shrink that down, and maybe stretch it out on this axis so it looks like an actual log. And then we can just freaking place that bad boy right in there. And I'm pretty much just going to continue doing that until we have this cool like stack of logs here. I then worked on finishing up the rest of the furnace, adding the cooking chamber along with a cute little hanging pot using some chains and a cauldron. Next, we needed to create a little book, and to achieve that, I used 3 pieces of orange terracotta and then just stuffed a bone block inside to look like some pages. XT got to work creating a blue variant of that same book, along with placing them on this cute little shelf that he made. He also started working on a bookcase below that using pieces of flattened stripped spruce wood and pressure plates. In the meantime, I worked on beautifying this little painting by adding a dark oak trim around it, along with this cute little gold plaque at the bottom too. I then got to work on the kitchen area, first experimenting with the sink, adding a cauldron and some ice inside because you can't seem to get water as an entity. I then started essentially 3D modeling a tap for the sink. I used only copper blocks for this, stretching and skewing them to the shapes I needed. Once I was happy with all the proportions, I moved it down to the sink, duplicated it, and attached them together with more copper blocks to look like rustic pipes. There's a little sink, medieval sink with the tap, you know? I mean, you can't really get sinks in medieval times, but we're just gonna give it a pass. Okay, don't worry about it. That literally took like 20 minutes, and now I have the rest of the kitchen to do, so yeah, let's get to it. Next, it was time to work on the drawers of the cabinets, and I achieved that by placing an outline of spruce fences, an inset flattened spruce plank block, and finally blackstone buttons for the handles. I also added a countertop to each of these using the new tough blocks. Next, I started working on some thin shelves that would go above the kitchen counters, which would be the perfect spot for a bunch of random knickknacks and paddywhacks. The first of which was a bottle of sorts that I made using some glass blocks, a piece of wood for the cork, and a block of lapis as the fluid inside. I placed this on the counter along with duplicating it so we had two side by side, and I also worked on getting various potted plants and a book placed on the shelf as well. I then felt like it could use a piece of fruit, so I modeled a tomato, which I guess could also double as an apple, and I made that out of a piece of red concrete and another for the stem. I placed that over on the shelf along with a little candle with a holder that I made earlier, and on top of the shelf I placed another book along with that same bottle I made as well. I then felt the kitchen definitely needed some plates and bowls, so I modeled some using flattened pieces of stone. I did the same for the bowl, just simply making those walls a little taller. I placed these both on the kitchen counter and used the shovel as a little spoon. Next, I wanted to make that same pot plant from earlier, except way better. I used a few pieces of polished andesite along with some dirt on top, with finally a torch flower as the plant. I placed this down next to the kitchen counters and also added a plaque with a shield up next to the fireplace. I achieved this by using stripped spruce wood blocks and simply placed a shield on top of that. I then felt a window was definitely needed here, so I spent some time adding an interesting one in. I then wanted a similar cabinet for above the kitchen counters, so I started repeating essentially that same process up here on a slightly stretched piece of stripped dark oak. I moved that down above the sink, duplicated it and flipped it to get two, along with a little bit of resizing until I was happy with it. We then got to work on this area that had two little tables with various decorations like a weird rug thing, helmet, a bowl of various fruits, and this cool helmet with a bit of plumage at the back. I modeled the final table here using rotated fences to get the shape right, along with some flattened strip spruce logs. I then got lazy and just slapped an item entity on top of it. I then used some flattened pieces of wall to create the various rugs strewn across the floor until actually getting my ass into gear and actually adding some cool patterns on top of them using some yellow wool. I outlined the entire rug with the yellow along with adding a weird symbol thing in the middle, which I think turned out pretty cool. Well, I guess I definitely thought it was cool because I placed it in the build 3 goddamn times, even on the wall. I then spent a very long time modeling a chest. This alone took longer than the entire vanilla interior. I then placed that in along with adding it next to the kitchen as well, along with duplicating the pot and placing it beside the bookshelf. Next, it was time to model a barrel, and I did so using a single piece of stripped dark oak along with using some stretched basalt blocks as the metal bands that wrap around. I placed this a few times in this corner to fill it up, and then got done with some finishing touches throughout the entire interior. Alright, and there it is. There is the completed interior. This thing ended up actually taking just over 3 hours to do. So you can see the insane amount of time it takes to kind of do this stuff. I mean, I still don't have a lot of experience, so I'm sure you could do this a lot quicker. We did do a couple of shortcuts as well. I don't really want to talk about that, but I'll take you on a quick little tour. So we got the furnace over here. This is the first thing that we built. I love these little logs as well. Over here, we've got like a nice little window. We got a shield. We got like, you know, just a pot with a thing in it, and just an insanely detailed kitchen here with shelves and books and water bottles and just, dude, it's just insane the amount of detail you can go in. I mean, this still isn't even like anywhere close to the amount of detail you could get. You could literally spend hours just 3D modeling basically just one thing. That's kind of what I did for this chest. I mean, it kind of turned out not really that great. It's way too long here and way too short on the top, but I just kind of left it because I already spent like, 20 minutes modeling that thing. Over here on this side, we got the barrels that I modeled, another one of those chests. You can see, to save time, I've definitely reused a lot of assets like this water bottle kind of everywhere, and the books as well. You could obviously spend way more time than we did. Like, this is just 3 hours of work. And just comparing that over here to vanilla, you can see just such a massive difference. I should probably actually add the window in here as well, eh? And yeah, so that kind of showcases the two sides of this, Axiom mod with the display entity things. One being that it takes away that creativity you need to find like the perfect block and random items to use for details and stuff, like this tripwire hook for instance. But you definitely still need that creative knowledge and stuff to be able to do this as well. It just kind of takes away from the the aspect of, you know, that knowledge of finding those random items and details like this, with the pot and the other pot with the azalea in it and stuff. Mind you, this mod is still completely vanilla. Everything you see here is actually possible with commands. It'd just simply take forever. This Axiom mod just makes it so much easier, you know, by adding these like little gizmo things that you can then rotate and stuff like that. And you can see the sheer amount of items here. A lot of these are actually grouped together as well. I also just thought I'd showcase this other little area over here I made for the thumbnail of this video, where I went into even more detail. You can see we got some hanging like swords and pickaxes on the wall here using some like little pegs. Some of the same things from over there as well. And even these books up here, I went even more in depth with these. As you can see over here, we just have like a flat kind of like block, but over here I actually added some bookcases to those, like with various little designs. I even like frickin' added individual lines of writing onto this book over here, along with like a book stand. If I can actually get in there, you can see I like fully modeled this little book stand, along with actually making our little tomato slash apple look way cooler as well. And well, that's how building in Minecraft is gonna change forever. If you want to learn how to build better in vanilla, I highly recommend watching this video right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.